Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good to see everybody.
Morning, Rob.
Good morning.
So I want to get started with a refresher on some legal updating. I did some more prodding and got some information gathered for the group here. I'm going to kind of go over this. I have our resident expert next to me to correct me if I'm wrong. Um,
Take it away.
I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So as far as giving us an update and how to practice safe real estate here, I'm going to go back to what I think is the beginning of this, the recent frenzy of litigation, and it kind of goes back to NAR's settlement. And what was the initial settlement with the DOJ in 21?
The initial settlement was they decided to, they wanted,
And this is Fran Blakely.
yeah, hi, good morning. They wanted, to be published. They wanted the buyers to know what the buyer's agents were getting paid. So that led to the change in posting on the MLS on the customer copy, what was exactly being offered out to the buyer's agent in the transaction. Shortly after, they agreed that that would be enough, they withdrew their, they pulled back on that.
After they agreed, right?
After they agreed, they pulled back on that. And then it turned, the table started to turn into the class action lawsuit. Being at NAR this week, every single meeting had a legal update. So I heard the story over and over again about what the intentions are. One of the things that stood out, which I did not know about, was the fact that the judge very early on in this class action lawsuit, decided that it was going to be a per se determination, which means they had to answer two or four questions instead of rule of reason decision. And the question, he decided that, which didn't allow the plaintiffs to really evaluate much of the testimony that was brought forward by NAR about what we do. It had nothing to do with that. The questions that they had to answer was, did the defendants conspire on this process of how we offer out commissions? Did this lead to inflated commissions? Which defendants had participated, and then they made the award for full damages. So at this point in time, NAR is going to try to go back and what do we do next? They'll go through the post-motion trials and they're going to try to vacate the verdict. Okay. They're going to say that a reasonable jury could not have reached their verdict in such a quick deliberation time. And then if that happens, then they will ask for a new trial. If not, they're going to do the appeal.
So in all likelihood, this is going to be 6 months to 3 years. What's the guesstimate?
Yeah, 6 months. It's going to be a long process. Now, one of the other interesting things I heard from Katie Johnson, who's their chief legal counsel, that they have hired they had hired. One of the questions I asked, which it was a little hard, was they talked about the people that they put up to represent NAR. But one of the things it didn't seem that they did was to bring in sellers, okay, that were okay with the process and had felt that everything was okay. So I went up and asked that question. And they said that the co-defendants in the case did bring witnesses of that nature up to testify. And they also said that the plaintiffs had no complaints about the services that they got, but they did have complaints about feeling that we conspired. They actually called us like a cartel. It was, quite the process. So we're hoping that, they are hoping. But one of the other things that was mentioned, which is always an option, but even at this point, I was a little surprised to hear this, that Katie Johnson stated that at any point, settlement is an option. And I was really surprised to hear that, although I don't feel like that is going to be the turn of events. And based on all the legal counsel that was there discussing everything, it didn't, and
Do you believe that they're gonna use the same counsel that lost the first case?
no, I think they've hired stronger counsel.
Okay.
I don't think, and they did not just use NAR counsel to
No,
fight this case.
no,
They
they
hired
hired outside
counsel.
party, yeah.
Yeah,
So Fran, I'm gonna ask you to stay along while I do
Okay.
a little presentation of material I accumulated on this matter. And if you feel some of this is not accurate, please just chime in, because it's a fluid situation.
okay.
And I want everybody to be aware. Now, I'm gonna just share with everybody this, which is the DOJ settled this case early on, and then they decided that they didn't want to stick by their settlement. And according to and this is a NAR summary, basically the initial case was that we can't, as part of the action, NAR determined, I'm trying to find the spot that I saw here. Basically, here, this is the agreement that we had. Realtors must not represent that their brokerage services to a client or customer are free or available at no cost to their clients, unless the realtor will receive no financial compensation from any sources for those services. Okay, from the initial settlement, that was the main thing. And Fran, you said there was one other thing in the initial settlement that was done with
Then we
NAR?
had a display,
The
the
commission being paid
commission being
out,
offered to the buyer's broker.
which is kind of
Oh.
consistent with that fact that we're saying we're not charging the buyer, but we are getting paid. So
Right, and one of the other things they did mention was that one of the other things they're gonna, it would be a long shot, it was only mentioned during one of the legal portions, was that they're gonna contest that the seller isn't really paying the buyer's broker. It's the broker, the listing broker, that is offering and paying the compensation. But I don't think that that's the right path they're gonna take. I don't think that path is gonna be the strongest of the paths. So-
okay, so here's Rob's review with a big shout out to Daryl Davis for some of the stuff that he put out for us, our legal update. The first case was the Morrell case, Morrell case, which revolved around the participation rule, which said that NAR members must offer cooperation to other NAR members that bring buyers. Okay,
Mhm.
and the essence of this rule was designed to eliminate pocket listings, which were self-serving and not in the best interest of the consumer.
Correct.
Okay. The mandatory compensation rule, which was offered by many of the MLSs, is now coming under attack under this particular case. Clear cooperation rule, which ironically is designed to protect the public in making sure that it gets the most broad exposure. And you give it to an attorney to chop it up, and you can spin it around. So the clear cooperation rule, is this now defunct at this
Nope.
point?
No, there was, during this entire litigation and in the verdict, there was no request that NAR change any of their policies.
Okay. Then we come to the no salic, ironic no sale, okay, no salic case, which began in Boston. And this one names MLS Property Information Network, Anywhere Home, Remax KW. The case centers on the requirement of sellers, brokers to offer compensation to buyer brokers in order to submit a listing to the service, which is kind of the same thing as the clear cooperation rule, correct? Fran, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you're requiring that you put it into a service saying we're broadcasting it to other members, and they say it's not reasonable not to offer compensation.
Well, it's more so that the compensation is known, right? Because the compensation can be zero to whatever, okay? It used to be, I think, okay, it used to be you have to offer at least $1. However, NAR recently in the past 6 months, but going back 6 months, decided that there's not much difference between or a penny and zero. So that zero could be offered in the compensation. The part is that it has to be put out there what exactly is being offered.
So I've actually come across listings, Fran, where it's zero minus $250.
$50, I know.
So you have to pay to be of service. Something's gonna have to come out of here, but at the end of this, I'm gonna give us some guidance on what we should be doing in the process. Then there is the Batten 1 case, okay, which began in early of 2021, involved home buyers, not sellers. A judge dismissed this case in May of 2022, but the buyer's plaintiffs then filed an amended complaint in July of 22, bringing the case back to life. This is against, the usual targets, I'll call it, and a motion to dismiss the suit is currently pending. Our founder and CEO made some comments on this one. He said that this case actually is not covered by the universal settlement that RE/MAX made in the past. In fact, if you look here, you can, like, so people can see it. This is not covering this case, but he doesn't see a big exposure to it. And Dave's a pretty savvy business person, so that's his opinion on this case. Then the most notable one is the Sitzer-Burnett case, which is the high-profile case that lately went to trial in October in Missouri. At issue were NAR's cooperative compensation rule, known as the participation rule, which requires listing brokers to make an offer of compensation to buyer brokers in order to submit a listing into the MLS. Okay, we all know where this is going. This wound up in a $1.78 billion judgment. Apparently, the judgment is not something that is reasonably collectible because it would, in essence, bankrupt the defendants, who would be NAR, Keller Williams, and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Group. Okay, so immediately after this case, they filed. So this thing was ready to go within minutes, right, Fran? They filed.
It was, yes.
Yeah, so they filed this electronically within minutes against another host of defendants: Compass, eXp, Redfin, Whitefield, United Real Estate, Howard Hanna Real Estate, Douglas Elliman, and NAR again, which to me seems like double jeopardy. NAR already lost the case.
Correct.
There was a Gibson complaint. According to this complaint, the plaintiffs are bringing suit alleging that the defendants sued against the defendants for agreeing, combining, and conspiring to impose and enforce an anti-competitive restraint that requires home sellers to pay the broker representing the buyer of their homes and pay an inflated amount in violation of federal antitrust law. A lot of words. There's a common theme here. According to this complaint, let's see, the Missouri-based suit promises to be much bigger than the Sitzer-Burnett in this class action status of the corporate defendants. All persons who listed properties in MLS service in the United States using a listing agent or broker affiliated with from October 31, 2019 until the present, they're seeking $200 billion. In this particular case, that's their demand. This is the Batten 2 case, which I believe is the one where they're alleging to home buyers. And there's an irony here when I read these two, Fran, is that the Batten case is saying that defendants' unlawful anti-competitive conduct causes buyers to pay inflated prices for broker services they misrepresented as free, to pay inflated prices for the homes they purchased, and to receive a reduced quality of broker service. So if I look at this from a layperson standpoint, in one case, they're saying the seller was forced to pay it, right? and then they have an action appearing in a different jurisdiction saying that the buyers were paying it.
Well, buyers were paying higher prices. to them, right,
They're saying the
right,
buyers are actually paying the commission through higher
Right.
prices.
Mhm.
So I don't know how they can have it both ways, where they're saying that the seller is paying for it, and then they say the buyer is paying for it in a separate litigation. Now,
Right.
if NAR can manage to lose this, where they get guilty on both, that would be amazing, because how can that be possible that both are paying it? Just,
And
just
there
my,
are several other lawsuits, but I don't have them.
just my
list
opinion.
in
Now,
front of me.
I believe let me just look back here. The Gibson case actually is looking to assign liability to individual agents. Okay, not just brokers. So, and this one here is covered by our blanket. I believe this one's covered by our blanket settlement with the Sitzer Burnett case.
Mhm.
So Dave Liniger had said that this can become crazy. It could be like if you ever saw like the mesothelioma or the Camp Lejeune thing, where they're just trying to get people to do a money grab. So agents that are with independent companies are probably going to be the most vulnerable to this litigation, because they're not going to have the ability to defend themselves. Let's see, Burton case filed in South Carolina. It's considerably smaller, seeking class action certification for people who used a Keller Williams agent in South Carolina. They allege that NAR and Keller Williams colluded to artificially inflate commission rates, increasing costs for home sellers. The effect of these rules is not simply that the sellers must pay the buyer's compensation. The complaint states that these rules effectively take the compensation structure out of the view of buyers and sellers, masking who's paying the buyer's broker's commission. A lot of words, a common theme going through here. Now, in March, there's a case against the Real Estate Board of New York with these defendants. We're seeing a trend here of litigation. Problem for mid to large size brokers. These are the ones that have recently been added to the complaint. Here is Katie Johnson's comments. Then she spoke there, right?
Oh, yeah, she spoke, yes. And, she had both Charlie Chen and I forget the other counsel's name with her on stage. And it's, she's really the one who has been, saying that we're, this whole case doesn't make any sense, that we are pro-consumer. That's what NAR is going by, how pro-consumer we are, that all the things that we do with a clear cooperation and brings more buyers to the table, opens the opportunities for buyers to see more homes, and that, we really are not a cartel that's out there. I mean, they really use those words.
So I think, Fran, when I'm listening to like a bazillion podcasts, I'm trying to understand this and put this in bite-sized information, so that as a group we can have meaningful conversations with our consumers and our customers, our clients who are interested in this. There is no, in my opinion, there is no cartel, there is no conspiracy. I've never been told by Remax or my local board that we need to charge a minimum of 2-3%. I've never been told what to charge in commission. And I think the way that the judge instructed the jury to come up with the judgment, the verdict was by asking 4 questions and not asking whether they thought it was fair. And I think that was part of what Rob believes was venue shopping, and finding a venue where a judge would be friendly to the way that the court proceeding is handled. So if the jury is limited to answering these 4 questions, yes or no, and if those 4 questions, yes or no, the judge instructs the jury that the verdict must be awarded, then they must calculate damages. Basically, in Rob's opinion, the judge decided the case by limiting it to 4 questions.
Yes.
So, and then perhaps maybe next time, Fran, maybe we should have more consumers on the jury, because only 2 of the jurors that had made this determination had actually sold a home with a realtor.
Well, that's what I actually asked them. How come NAR didn't call consumer witnesses on our behalf. And they said that the plaintiffs did, and they indicated that in a class action lawsuit, you want to get like to the, there were three things that they were intent on making sure the public knew, or the jury knew. And that the co-defendants did bring the consumers, as witnesses. But it's gonna be a long road. I think right now, first of all, there's no plan to increase dues, although the directors meeting is today, if that was being brought up, but at the finance meeting, there was no, nothing about increasing the dues. There was also nothing said about changing the way we do business with the three-way agreement that we are NAR, New Jersey Realtors here in the state, and our local associations. There's no plan on changing the way we do business that way. So for right now, and I think for the next 6 months to a year, we all have to go out there, pay our dues. We all have to make sure that the public knows
Well,
exactly what we do.
Well, we don't have to, like, part of it is we
They
don't have
don't
to pay our
have to pay
dues.
your
We have
dues
a
if you don't
choice,
want
we have
to.
a choice to pay our dues.
Oh.
I want to just continue and because I want to get into the AI, and we have some
Okay,
housekeeping stuff to get through here. So
okay.
here's a cartel of 4 people that made $800 million, $712 million from this particular case. Okay. Here's some of the comments that these people made that, basically make me sick. This is one of the rare things in our country where, regardless of politics, people can come together. Everyone agrees, couldn't be further from the truth, that we have to get the National Association of Realtors out of the pockets of homeowners. It's not right, and it was a jury, and the jury exposed it for what it was. That is so untrue. That just goes to the mindset of this guy with a really creepy smile, in my opinion. Our goal is to take this message out of the state of Missouri, take it nationwide, so that homeowners in our country can finally reap the benefits of technology and get these corporate real estate giants' hands out of homeowners' equity. This guy is like, really has it in for us. We're not going to stop until NAR is broken up. Okay.
Those are all statements that I have also.
Okay.
Mhm.
What they're saying is that because they couldn't prove, and because there is no conspiracy amongst the industry to fix commissions, and we all know that when we go out on a listing opportunity, we have to demonstrate our value to get paid. Okay. So they've tried to now say that we're clumped in a range. Okay. And the clumping of commissions that Dr. Schulman refers to in the allegation that commission rates tend to cluster or concentrate around a certain percentage, like 4 to 5. The plaintiffs argue that this shows anti-competitive behavior. Commissions are not varying freely, but are being fixed or stabilized. They claim that the NAR rule contributes to this commission rate clumping. Dr. Wu disputed this interpretation. He's the NAR economic person, right? Dr. Wu?
No, Dr. Wu, no, is not. Dr. Yu.
Okay,
Lawrence
so
Yun is.
So
is
Wu
the
was
economic-
probably,
Is someone
he
else.
was probably a witness that the
Right.
defendants hired,
Mhm.
disputed the interpretation, arguing that clumping can occur naturally in competitive markets as businesses copy successful practices. He said that clustering alone does not indicate any illegal price fixing or conspiracy. For example, if you have a Jersey Mike's, a Subway, and your local sandwich shop, the price of a sub tends to be generally fixed, right? Because its input needs to be competitive to compete in the
Competitive, right.
marketplace. But does anybody suspect that they're going to sue all the local sub shops and the franchises, saying that it's anti-competitive? I think not, right? So it's a business model
Mhm.
that it needs to be deployed for businesses to be viable.
So the one thing, if you recall, right, up until this all came up, we never, ever discussed commissions. We never discussed commissions, ever, for fear that it would be a
But
violation.
it's not even,
I mean, we
but it's
didn't-
not even fear though. We are Fran, we are competitors, like
Right.
Coldwell Banker down the road, Keller Williams and Weichert, we're not getting together and saying, hey,
Right, let's do this.
let's fix our
Right.
prices so that the public has no options. We are very competitive.
Right,
We want to
we are.
demonstrate our value and we want to earn what we're worth. So
Well, that's what
from
I
the
was saying, we
perspective
don't-
of the consumers coming to us,
Mhm.
I think we need to, there's a couple of tactics that I'm going to recommend, and maybe you can do a screenshot or take a picture with your phone. Words you can't say. Okay, this is a big piece here that I want everybody to pay attention to, and this is your leadership, your broker in New Jersey, your ownership team here in Florida saying, you cannot say without putting yourself in peril that the buyers do not pay a commission, it's free to them.
Correct.
In writing or in verbal, because there's so many recording devices right now, we never know if we're being set up. We
Mhm.
cannot tell the homeowner that they must pay the buyer's agent. We cannot tell home sellers and homeowners if we offer a high selling commission, agents may not be motivated to show it. Okay, that's a very very tricky needle that we need to thread. Okay, and words you can say is your fee is negotiable.
Mhm.
Okay, so these are things, maybe take a picture of this.
You,
Good. Do you have any other quick comment?
you're saying your fee is negotiable?
Yes, exactly. Sorry, it says
It is not
non-negotiable.
negotiable.
Not negotiable.
No, so yes, we can say our fee is not negotiable as an agent. Okay, we can go out there and say, my fee is 2.5%. We can't, like, Remax Select is not going to tell everybody that we have a minimum commission.
Okay,
But if you go out there, you can say, this is my fee. Okay, you don't need to feel that everything has to be negotiable. You say, these are the services I provide. This is my fee. I don't
right.
negotiate on my fee. Okay, but that's your position.
Mhm.
Okay, you can say that. You can't say that commissions are not negotiable.
Correct.
You can say my commission is not negotiable if that's what you believe. Okay, so that's not a typo. You
Mhm.
can
Okay.
actually say that. We're all getting a little squirrely here about these attorneys.
Hey, Rob,
Yes, sir.
you know what I tell people? I say, yes, to everything in the contract's negotiable, including my professional fee. What would you like to pay, Mr. Seller? 6, 7, or 8%? Because
Yeah.
commission's negotiable, it can go up as well as down, and that shuts them right down.
Very good, Eric. Thank you.
Mhm.
So
Can we, I have a question. Can we touch on the potential of the unbundling of the commissions?
sure. I think if we go to the end, it was Emily, right? You might say
Yeah.
it was addressed.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. These lawsuits are alleging that clients and homeowners weren't given a choice. Distinguishing terms, listing agent, selling agent, buyer's agent. And if you've been in the industry a long time, we go back to sub-agency, right? Where everybody was paid by the seller. In those, I would call those perilous days. If Fran next to me was representing a buyer under a sub-agency agreement, the buyer said, let me make an offer of 450, but I can go to 490. You were under a duty to make that disclosure to the seller
Seller,
because the
right.
seller was paying it. I don't think we want to go back to those days. I think those are very uncomfortable days for us as an
That's what it
industry.
seems like these attorneys are pushing for, though. It's crazy.
Here, this might have been what you were talking about here, Emily, like unbundling it. You could come out with a multi-tier plan for what you're going to do for selling the house. Okay. Homeowners agree to a marketing fee, and then you could give them optional fees. You could have an add-on incentive, which is 100% of these incentive fees will be used to pay the selling agent, right? And I think by giving choices, it pokes holes through the whole legal argument that sellers don't have options, right?
Mhm.
So you can make an option not to compensate a buyer's agent. We're all trying to anticipate and be futurist as to how this lands. I was to make a bet is I think that maybe this case gets overturned, maybe it even goes to the Supreme Court. Because somebody has to understand what the motivations of NAR is. And NAR is not only it's a big lobby, but it's a big lobby in order to protect our industry, which if our industry doesn't protect the consumers, I think our industry will start to unravel.
Correct.
Only share your listing commission with subagents. This is where I hope we don't go, where
Mhm.
we then give up buyer representation. Okay,
We're gonna have more lawsuits.
in this case here, just to give some context, is if Fran takes a listing and Weichert brings a buyer with sub-agency, then the Weichert agent is under a duty to disclose to the seller's agent, who is the only agent, what their client is willing to do. And they become a customer instead of a client, where we only have the duty to be honest. We don't have any enhanced fiduciary duties, if I'm
Correct.
saying that correctly.
Aren't we all transaction brokers? I mean, if we're transaction brokers, I mean, none of this comes into play.
So
It's funny if you-
is Colleen or Elizabeth on to address that? Because Florida is different.
We
Yeah,
are all transaction brokers here in Florida. Yes.
Right.
we're
Elizabeth.
transaction brokers on our contracts,
Okay, so
listing contracts, and especially on our
right.
addendums.
So Ron, going forward, Ron, we're gonna have some sessions that are New Jersey only and Florida only, just to address the unique nature of our specific laws and the way agency works. But I don't want to go down that route because we're already at 10 o'clock. A flat fee, another option. Why are there two different prices for homes? And I thought this was pretty good. This is a lot of this material is from Daryl Davis, so I don't want you to think this is borrowed information from Mr. Davis, who's spoken for us before. But if you buy a certified used Mercedes-Benz versus buying one off the street, there is more or less risk to buying a certified used car. Less risk, right? So do you pay more or less, Fran, when you buy
You
it?
pay more.
Now, if you're buying a home that is listed, okay, you have less risk because you're hiring an agent to assess the property condition and say, maybe we want to avoid this house, maybe we want to buy that house.
Mhm.
Okay, so homes sell for higher prices because there are professionals that are helping you navigate through this process. Okay,
Okay.
very, very important. I'm going to rally some groups together. If anybody wants to be a FSBO specialist, and we can create some content marketing where we educate the public that working with an agent gets you a higher sales price. In this one study, it was 18.24% difference. The average commission's 5%, then you're making a lot more money by working with an agent. Here's some examples of the founder of For Sale by Owner couldn't sell his house, his place for 2.1 million. He listed it, paid $129,000 commission, and got 50,000 more than what he couldn't sell it for. Okay. The founder of buyowner.com, same thing. He listed it with a realtor because he couldn't sell his house on his own website. So I want to find some people that we can have some good content to have conversations with for sale by owners and educate them on the value proposition so they can make the right decision. And that's the end of my slides here. I hope that this was helpful for everybody. Now I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping. First, I want to thank Bruce Oliver and his team for nearly 10 years of working with us. And as business has changed, we evaluated our affinity relationship, and we've made a change with the I guess it was most recently Bond Street, but he was with us for over 9 years. We have a new company that we're going to be working with in most of the New Jersey offices. And that company is called Cornerstone. I have Renee next to me. She's going to introduce herself in just a moment. Matt Sora is still going to be here in Westfield. And I don't know if Frank, are you on the line?
Right here.
All right, so
Good morning,
Frank
everybody.
is kicking off Motto. So Frank is running a parallel path to what we're doing here in New Jersey. We are business partners, not just affiliates with them, so that we have some more control over the process, which is one of the motivations for our decision. Frank, you want to just go on camera so people can recognize you for a second?
I'm right here. Can you see me?
I
Yeah.
don't see you.
You don't?
No, let me see. Let me unpin myself here. Maybe you'll. There you
There
go.
he is.
There I am.
There's Frank Delpeche. We just kicked off Motto. We've been licensed there for what, about 2 months now, a month and a half.
Just about, yeah, about 6-7 weeks.
And for those of you who know Frank, he might, well, not might, soon will be in New Jersey if he has people from Florida or whatnot that work with Frank and have a business in New Jersey. That will be soon. And I'm going to turn it over to Renee at Cornerstone. And Renee comes with a very strong background, I think can help us grow our businesses together. And let me switch it over to
Morning,
Renee Stone.
everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to meet all of you today. I'm here with my team, and we are 5 of us that are coming to begin this journey with you. I've been in the mortgage business for 39 years now, so I have been through all these crazy markets, and I have a extensive experience in dealing with in-house relationships. I've done several of them in my career very successfully, along with large builder accounts. Cornerstone First Mortgage is a company that has a broad range of products, some really aggressive jumbo products, and very aggressive first-time buyer products, down payment assistant loans, and a variety of programs and some great rates. And my team has been with me, who you will all meet in the next week or so, for over 11, 12 years now. I think we've all been together. 17 years, wow. Tiffany. And we're very excited. We're excited to get in and meet all of you and see what your needs are, and hopefully be able to partner with you and help you sell more houses. I mean, that's really what it's about.
I mean, that's the real key, is to provide resources to help everybody, sell more houses. There might be bond programs. There might be programs that will help us to do more transactions that, they're generally very, it's kind of like making it, I won't say donation, but these are not commercially reasonable ways to do business, but we're just committed to helping grow the business. And those are things that, we're committed to help you do more sales. And if we can compete on product, we'd like to, be your go-to team to help support you. So, and then there's a little bit of good news on rates recently, right?
Yes.
Rates are great, yeah.
Rates finally came back down again a little bit. So we're back in the 7s, low 7s, thank goodness. And depending on what this administration puts out, that depends on where they'll go. It seems like every time Powell speaks, as always, and it's always been this way, the market reacts either positively or negatively. And luckily, over the last week or so, we've had a nice push down in rates, which is great. So hopefully that'll continue. And maybe even, as the predictions say, back down into the 5s over the next year. That would be wonderful. But we have a lot of first-time buyer and even non-first-time buyer CRA programs, where based on a certain demographic, and we can help each of you figure out that demographic, we can offer rates as low as 7, 7.25 with no points to borrowers in certain areas, and assist them with down payment funds as well. So those are some neat ways to help sell a listing or generate some buzz to, or if you have a borrower who doesn't qualify, using a product like that.
So a couple of notes. Housing starts came out this morning and they were actually up to 1.358 from 1.269 million. So basically 1.35 from 1.26 last month, and they're down from 1.43 million annualized starts from a year ago. I think the housing starts number was a little bit better than expected, and I think that home builder stocks have been doing better because home builders have recognized that if they buy the interest rate down, they can manipulate demand. Okay, and for example, if there's a community where the homes are selling at $900,000, right? Rather than cut the price to 850, the builders recognize that if they can buy the rate down to, let's say 6% in the 8% market or 6.5%, that they can hold the line with their price, and consumers will be glad to go away from an 8% rate to get to that 6.25. And I think those are called forwards that they do, right?
Those
Mhm. Yeah,
forwards,
forwards.
which actually today at 2 o'clock, we're on a Teams call. Cornerstone is very aggressive in the builder forward market. And he is rolling out, the owner of the company, a program today for builder forwards. So for those of you that do work with builders or new construction, I would love to meet up with you and tell you a little bit about what we can offer on that.
So I think it's kind of a metaphor for maybe what we can do in terms of, you know, getting buyers maybe to, instead of negotiating a sales concession or a price reduction, or even if they're paying a premium, maybe they can say, I want you to buy the rate down, so that the financial decision looks more like the model that builders have been using. Because all predictions were that the builder stocks would get annihilated when interest rates rose. And quite frankly, we haven't seen that to be true, because the builders have proven to be very adept at controlling the demand, okay, by changing the interest rates. So if it works for builders to do a buy down, if we partner up with the lenders that we work with, and maybe go revisit the buyers and say, maybe we can have a buy down of your loan to get you comfortable getting into the house. Let's steal a page from something that's worked with builders. And another good piece of, well, I think it's a good piece of news for home ownership is the higher interest rates have severely crowded out the demand for all these apartment construction and multifamily unit construction, because that's a financial play. And with higher cost of capital and banks feeling a little bit more nervous about the credit quality, multifamily starts are down 30% from a year ago. Okay, so that means that there's going to be less rental options and more people that are going to want to be in the buying area. So that should be another opportunity for us to help people, you know, get into that American dream, climb that ladder of, financial success. I think buying a home is something that changes many of our lives and gives us the ability to build equity instead of pay rent, climb the economic ladder more than just have a home to live in. So that's why we are essential services, and that's why, I love this business and, want to help everybody, provide that service throughout. So
Dr. Yoon from NAR is
Thank you.
predicting that
Yep.
we will have 4 interest. He's pretty certain, he feels that there's no reason for the Fed to raise the rates, but that we should have 4 interest rate drops within the next year, bringing us down 1%. That's kind of a prediction based on a lot of information that he gave, but these are some this was just one interesting thing that in the next 2 years that he's feeling the market's going to go up 13% this year. And over the next 2 years, what's going to happen? 7 million newborn babies, 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces, 7 million turn 65 years old. Ugh, that's me. 4 million deaths, 4 million net new jobs, and 50 million job switches. And all of those things together lead to changes in housing. And, he feels it's inevitable. People are just not gonna be able to wait anymore. Like, they're hanging on, waiting for the rates to drop, but they're just not gonna be able to wait anymore. So I have a ton of slides that I'll share with you, Rob. You can go through them, a lot of economic stuff that he went through, but that's the gist of it, really.
And there's a tremendous baby boom population that is going to be getting to that phase where they need to plan their transfer of wealth, okay, either while they're living or when they pass on, and probably are in homes that they don't need to be in. They're in multi-level homes, larger homes that they need to downsize. And there's been a deferral of those sales. And
Mhm.
ironically, many of those homes have 0 to very low loan to value
Yeah.
ratios, so that interest rates shouldn't have much of an impact on them. As a matter of fact, now would probably be a great time for them to sell, okay, because it doesn't affect them when they go to buy something else, if they do.
Correct.
So that's some exciting news. Traditional wisdom, election years, maybe interest rates will be politically driven down for everybody that's in office. I know they say the Federal Reserve is unbiased, but there are strong correlations into politicians wanting to have people working and happy with not 8% mortgages. So I think that's a big motivation. Now I'm gonna switch to the artificial intelligence and technology update here. So let me just take a minute and share this here with you, because this is like all I hear is what's going on with AI.
We actually reviewed just different MLS systems this week also, and there was one system that just takes the photo, and as it's loaded, it writes the description of the photo. But what was always stressed was that but it's not like, it's just simply, this is a bedroom because it sees the bed and it sees the dressers and, but it's not something, everything is, you must review it if you're using AI, and you can't trademark anything that has AI or has been done by AI.
All right. Here's our AI. So chat GBT use case, social media post descriptions, property descriptions, taglines, brainstorm ideas and topics, write articles, blog posts, and press releases. Some examples of writing listing descriptions. It's a starting point. We all know our local rules, regulations, and what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to say. Chat GBT does not have a real estate license from the descriptions I've seen it right. Chat GBT has the ability to do some pretty high level auto responses, and social media is not my strong suit, but agents are integrating AI into social media channels, connecting and responding to leads through APIs, which are ways that a program can talk to another program through like a common set of data points. I guess that would be like when you export something into a Google spreadsheet, like a CSV file, you can download data and then you can upload it and it reads it. An API is a seamless way of having that ability for two programs to communicate with each other. Video messages, this would be low level, would be a great way for agents, lenders, other professionals to talk to people through that went through an open house and say, hey, I want to thank you for visiting 137 Elmer Street. Just to remind you, the price is offered at this, the seller's flexible in whatever you want to have. And then you can put their name in the beginning of it. You could say, hi, Denise, hi, Fran, right? And it will look like you recorded an individual message for everybody. Okay. That's technology that's here today. Instead of recording, 37 videos, you can record one and just have the name changed in the front. Looks fairly decent, not perfect. You could also use something like that if you're going around the neighborhood to introduce a new home onto the market and have their first name on there. Another Be Human. I don't know, Fred, are you on with us here? Fred might not be on, but Be Human is a a more beginner level of integrating that same example that we talked about a second ago. This is actually a example. There's a couple of examples where we did with Emily, she did a recording and then we put the different clients' names on there. So it could be video message for Olivia, video message for Ethan, and all it was a list of names and emails. And then Emily would say, hey, Ethan, thanks for visiting my open house. Hey, Olivia, thanks for visiting my open house. And it goes out seamlessly. And the top clip has, you know, the name change as well, just like when you do like an email blast where it might change the first name that's been available for years. This was something that Fred did with one of my videos. This lip synthesis was an example where I think it's fairly reasonably affordable, where what you can do is you can like have your mannerisms. I'm going to take it off from here, but like you can have a conversation and your mannerisms, the way that you speak, it will model the way that you speak. And then you can go in and type a whole different message. So in other words, I could create that email that I send out for the masterminds, and it could be, you know, me wearing this suit just like this, and I can change what I'm saying completely. And the AI will understand it and will impersonate my voice, and it will look like I said it. Okay. And the starting point for that is to do a modeling. I think it's $120, $150. You basically speak into a video camera. It understands the way that you move, the way that you behave, and it will then give you the ability to type a script, and it will say the script that you type without you having to do it. Some might say it's cool, some might say it's creepy. Maybe I'm not even here.
Scary stuff.
You know, Rob, I just wanted to mention that they actually exhibited that at the NCJAR breakfast that they had a couple of months ago. And the guest speaker was speaking about the use of AI in real estate. And she started talking about this, and they showed her giving a whole nother speech that was all AI, and it was her movement, her voice, her look. It was really pretty stunning.
So Robert, you can use the word stunning, or you can use the word scary, creepy. Like, I think there needs to be some responsibility in doing it, but you know, to the extent that we can use this to leverage our resources and, you know, help more people, then I think it's a good initiative to undertake. But it's not a substitute for not working. It's not a, you know what I mean? Like it does have some things that, you know, if you, let's say that you have your virtual help do this, right? And they get angry at you and they make some obnoxious video. Like, yeah, I think about these things, right? They can do some rage, some political statements that could ruin your career.
Yeah.
So I put a big caution on it. You know, I want everybody to be aware of what's available, but we also need to protect our likeness and our images and what we portray. So let's see. This was the example here.
Second youngest son. He suggested it came out of nowhere. What we subsequently learned is it may have come from the former president or his lead.
Now, can you hear that or no? I probably didn't share I'll share the audio.
You can hear it. Oh, I
You
can-
could? All right.
Team acting in bad faith. This is a deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing. It took around 72 hours to create this example from scratch using extremely powerful GPU. It could be improved with more computing time, but 90% of people cannot tell the difference.
That was, I believe, a year ago. So that is now available for $120 to create your likeness. That kind of looked like him, right? Faked me out.
They weren't side by side, you never know.
Looks just like him. Yeah.
Rob, do you have, if we were to use something like this and post on, you know, YouTube or Reels or whatever, do we need a disclaimer that it's AI?
Repeat that question.
I don't
I
think
said
so.
if we were to use something like this on social
Hmm.
media or YouTube or the like, would we need to add a disclaimer that it's AI?
Hi, how are you?
I'd probably say no.
You need to be responsible for whatever's being put out there.
So-
So you can't just say it's AI and this is
So,
it.
I know Meta has some guidelines for AI. And I know that YouTube in the first quarter of 24 is going to require all AI content to have a disclosure that it's AI or you'll be banned. So I would say, Emily, it's if you're sending out a bomb or an email right now on YouTube or some other platform, I don't believe you're required to do it right now. What I might do is I might say in a general disclaimer that our AI is used in our marketing services and solutions, and not say that this was AI, because kind of takes away from the personalization of that experience, in my opinion. But
Correct. That's what I was concerned about, because I think this is a great tool, but the last thing you want is for people to, to perceive the fakeness, and therefore it does more harm than good.
But think about what could possibly happen here is, right now you have video of, somebody doing damage, right? They come by there and they, take an axe and chop your sign down, right? That could not be you. It could be a deep fake now. And this video not going to be allowed in the court anymore. Say that wasn't me. That was AI that did that. Really interesting, right? So it creates a lot more questions and answers, but I think the more we talk about it, that our goal is to be ahead of the curve and not to be, the last guy or lady on the block that's making decisions that we're doing looking forward, instead of being reactionary, saying everybody else is doing it, we need to get to the party. We want to be to the party early, and we want to give you all the information to make those right decisions. So I hope this was helpful to everybody, and wish you all a great weekend. If you have any other questions, I'll stay on. We still have 2 minutes left, and I'm here to answer the best of my ability.
Rob, I use the chat GPT a lot. It is free for some things, but I think if you wanted to get more advanced in the program, you probably would have to pay. I think it's like $150 a month or $125 a month.
But I think ChatGPT, the free version, also gives you data that's like 12 months old.
I did a couple of things with it, and it's pretty awesome.
So the sooner we play around with it, we explore, we learn the limitations and the benefits, the better off I think we'll all be. And I think it has, far-reaching impacts. I'm sure it's going to impact the lending world, the title world, like every aspect of what we do is going to have some impact from artificial intelligence, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right. Other housekeeping notes is, when you're doing your business, make sure that have a awareness of the potential for fraud, because with impersonation of voices and whatnot, somebody could call you up and you can be like, oh, it sounds like my client, and it could not be your client, right? There are services that are available for under $100, where I can have a conversation with somebody. I can record that conversation. I can then simulate the voice. I can call back and say, you know what, Kyle, can you please send the wire to this address instead of that one, right? Think about that. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but this is the world that we live in today. Like, I could probably have a 10-minute conversation with Kyle, record that. Artificial intelligence can then replicate your voice. And in the study I watched, does anybody ever call in to like their credit card or someplace, and we recognize your voice, we know who you are, right?
Yeah.
So they can pass with your voice recognition from a 10-minute phone conversation. So I can listen and I can relay it. So it's like I'm speaking to you. Oh, can you put that, can you make a payment to boom, right? Like if I call my banker, Naveed, he knows my voice, like he would say, okay, Rob, I'll take care of that for you. But somebody could copy my
Imitate you.
voice, yeah, and it will sound exactly like me.
So we gotta start changing our voices.
Well,
Rob, did you hear about a scam that was going on?
what, what was
there-
that?
People are getting phone calls from, relatives. The last one I heard was a woman's daughter. She got a phone call saying that, they took me, I'm hostage. You have to give me $50,000 and, or they're going to kill me. And then, she's like, oh my God, whatever. And, but yeah, there's a lot of scams going on with AI.
Technology.
But so if you ever get a phone call like that, make sure you hang up and call back to make sure,
Hey, Rob, that
Yeah.
listing fee marketing plan, thing that you had before with the 3% plan, 4% plan, 5% plan,
Yes,
was that something that we can use or something we should not use?
no, you can use it, yeah.
Okay, I like it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So, the surprise there, and Fran, her whole body was deflated. We can say my fee is not negotiable, right? Like we can say that, but we just can't conspire, right? Okay, because there's a cost to providing services. People forget that, right? So we're
You have to
entitled
prove
to
your
provide
value, too.
services, yes, and document our value.
And
Could have left well enough alone. I mean, we've been
Fire
doing business like
agencies
this for so many years.
Yeah, like 100
Crazy.
years, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy they're tying our hands.
Well, I mean, Ron, let's with every challenge, there's an opportunity, right? And the more that we talk about this, the more that we're ahead of the curve, the better off that we're going to be at the end of the day. So,
Exactly.
and I think for everybody, change, including me, I think everybody has some level of excitement and discomfort with change, right? And we just need to have a little bit more excitement than discomfort with, the pace of change that we're seeing right now. And also the uncertainty, because, we used to look to NAR for giving us advice on what's going to happen, but now nobody knows, right? The attorneys don't know, NAR doesn't know, nobody knows. I want to leave with this here is maybe we should be reaching out to our representation, and I've never really done this, but reach out to your congressmen, your senators, and talk about what this is, because if they're going to wind up making rules for us, they should hear from us, right? And I assume if they don't hear from us, they assume everything's okay. There is a site.
Good idea.
There is a site, and I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put this on the link to next week's one, where you can find your congressional district and your congressperson. And I think we all should reach out and say, hey, I want to inform you about our industry and what the challenges are that are going here, to advocate for, home ownership, the way that we do business, because I think that NAR helps our industry have a standard. It has recourse. I recently had, somebody who didn't follow the rules. They basically, stole a client and got paid a commission. And all we had to do was file an arbitration for the commission. And there was a very orderly way of having this resolved in less than 4 hours. Okay, if that were to go through the courts, here's what it would look like. All right, $10,000 retainer to get your $10,000 check.
Yeah.
Like, what?
NJ Realtors is doing an update. I think it's on the 21st. I think it's on the day of my meeting, but I'll send you the date. They can get that out to everybody. A recap of what's going on also.
So next one, and Fred, when you edit this, make sure that next time we do this, that I put the representative finder. You put your zip code, your address, and it will tell you who your congressperson is. And I'll put down the US senators, because I think that they should be hearing from us about
Mhm.
how to advocate for our industry. And, it's not a self-serving, it's, if some of these rules go through, it's bad for homeowners. And one of the people it could be potentially the worst for would be for veterans to buy
Yes.
homes, because it puts that burden of them paying for their representation on the veteran who doesn't have the
It's
money
not
to do
allowed.
it.
It's not allowed. They said that it's not allowed to be
Okay.
paid for.
Okay, so
At
the,
NAR.
so the veteran can't pay for, so what do
That's
you
what they
do?
said.
You can't go left and you can't go right, right?
That's what they said. That's what I heard them now.
Yeah,
Hey,
so-
Rob,
so-
Michael Luzzy, real quick.
Yeah, Michael.
I had a listing appointment this week and I sat down with the potential seller and he actually asked me about what's happening with this litigation.
Wow.
So people know about it. People out there know about this. And, I explained to him, we're not doing anything differently. We're very transparent. When we put a listing on the MLS, the commissions are there. So I said, what it is, in my opinion, I told him it's a big money grab. The attorneys are making all this money. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
He agreed. He totally agreed.
So Michael, I assume that you were on some of the previous sessions we had. Did that help you
Yes.
be a little bit more comfortable addressing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we have to know what's going on. I would have felt really dumb if a potential client brought something up and I said, gee, I didn't know that. That would have been, I wouldn't have looked very good with that. But yeah, absolutely. It was
Michael,
a huge help.
Thank you for participating, and it gives me inspiration that what we talked about actually helps you in the practical application of our business. And I truly believe we've done nothing wrong. And how can we be put in a position where we can't help a veteran? How crazy is that?
It's terrible. It's just terrible what they're trying to do. And with, like you said, with these attorneys, all it is they're the ones who are going to make all the money. And it's so typical today. And I don't even want to get into that, but it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Michael.
Hey, Rob.
You're welcome.
Yes, John. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I want to just mention one thing. I have a good friend. He's been a realtor for 25 years. Smart guy, too. Well, he fell for one of the scams. And what happened is his company, which is a brand in the suburban Detroit area, Birmingham, they got a lead that went through the company that went to him. And so he got to talking to the buyer, and she wanted to buy a house for over $1 million. And they got to talking. She set an appointment. She said, I'm out of town, but I'm coming in next month. Start sending me listings. So then they kept in touch, and somehow the conversation came up with what she does. And she said she traded Bitcoin, and that she showed him where she was making like 200,000 per trade. And so it got his curiosity up, and he said, hey, how can I find out more about it? And all this was a scam. And so she ended up getting him to invest small amounts, like $2,000, $4,000. And then they built a website that was like a real website that you could go to, you could log in, you could watch the indicator on what the Bitcoin was doing. You could make a trade. I mean, it was all so legitimate. And I kept telling him, I said, why would this woman contact you? Why would she just give it to a friend or somebody else? You're just a guy out of the blue. Well, in the end, she got him putting in trade, and there was a whole team of people. She had an assistant. She had these people to talk to on how to do the trades. And in the end, the deposits got bigger and bigger. They got 20,000, 40,000. And then finally, he had an option, and he's showing me his statements where he's making all this money. I'm saying, it just can't be. So in the end, he was supposed to make like $280,000, but he had to invest another like 100,000 into it. So he ended up cashing in his IRA, and then and then he said to him, "This is the last trade. This is the big one, and then and you're going to get your money next week." And he never got his money, so he got ripped off. So, but the lady was so good at it, and the whole team was so good and so realistic that they showed everything just as though he was working with a real person. So anyway, especially with he's at older guys, so he's that money he needed for retirement. So I just want to pass it on to people that there's these scams that they kind of sucker you into it, draw you in, and everything looks so real, but you know, you got to be careful.
Well, John, thank you for sharing that. And we have a tremendous reach so that we could perhaps share that with, you know, people that trust us. And hey, I'm going to invest my down payment in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, you know, quadruple check that, because there are so many fraudsters out there that do make it seem real.
Exactly. And you know what? People like that too may even ask for referrals, you know, and so you might, you know, give it off to a client or something, you know, so you got to be careful too, you know, and you get other people involved.
Yeah, thank you for it's depressing, but we need to know it, John. And I'm guessing this person was an intelligent person that fell for, you know, that scam, because it's so sad.
Yeah.
It is. That's what surprises me, is that and I think greed set in, but he's a smart guy, you know, he's no dummy, he makes a good living. And the people were so professional, that's what happened, you know. So anyway, just beware.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. If anybody else, any last questions before we wrap it up? All right. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. And thanks for your time.
Have a good weekend. Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob. Have a great weekend.
Oh,
Thank you.
bye.